Every saga has its origin, out of which comes a beautiful story. After the birth, inevitably will come the fall, when we have to reach down and pick ourselves up, re-engaging into the world at a much different position than we found ourselves in before. As we start to rise up and see the world through new eyes, can we finally see the big picture? Redemption can only come when we start our climb from the bottom. Faith starts to take hold and carries us to the next level, showing us that salvation is a possibility. Life is a journey and never a straight path. After being broken, we now have the freedom to do what is necessary to bring about success in our lives. The restoration of our soul can only come through the suffering of what we believe. I'm Kevin Donaldson, always here with Mike Felice, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor, hit the like button, just like Tom hits the pump of the hand sanitizer on the bathhouse. Subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content, and now you can join. And of course, follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to when we're up to it. Sorry, Tom, I had to do that to you. I had to do it.
Yeah, some intro, man.
Yeah, took a couple times to get it, but the bathhouse, come on.
Anything for views, right?
It's nasty. So, listen, I don't have an OnlyFans account, but I got to do something for the views.
Yeah.
So tonight, on this episode of the Suffering Podcast, it's just going to be you and I sitting in here. And I thought it would be good to go over something that I've actually been planning since the inception of this show 5 years ago. When I started thinking about this, the Suffering Podcast, suffering, it's a hard word to think about. But who's the greatest sufferer of them all? Who do we model this whole show after? The person who went through, the Andy Dufresne poop tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
Big time, and came out clean on the other side. And that's Jesus Christ. Okay, so tonight we're going to be dipping our toes into uncharted waters, but it's definitely the backstory of this whole show. And then we're going to do the suffering of Jesus Christ, and it's going to be you and I sitting here and talking about it.
Not just you and me, the guest that's been with you ever since the beginning.
Even though I couldn't see him. Isn't that something?
Yep.
Even though I couldn't see him. Now, before we get into the beauties of Jesus Christ, let's throw a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as police, but we do trust the boys over at Toyota Hackensack. So if you're looking for a car, go to toyotahackensack.com and tell them the Suffering Podcast sent you. So, Tom, I got a good one for you because actually I pulled this one specifically for you, this social media question.
Oh, boy. Let's hit it. Let's hear it.
What is a normal waist size for an adult male? No, I'm only kidding. But it's along the same lines.
You can't help yourself.
I can't. It's just like I got Tourette's when you're in front of me.
Yeah.
So Hal Jordan's Lantern actually writes, where do you see yourself in 1 year? We make all these different progresses throughout our life, and sometimes they're so small. The advances we see are so small. I look back on your life a year and a half ago. And then I look at you now, and I see an enormous improvement. Not your skin color, but an enormous
genetics. I can't fix everything.
It's good you got some sun today for the show. I appreciate it.
The lighting in here is not favorable.
But I've seen the enormous improvement you've made in 1 year. Okay, I've seen you grow to this man who, and I've said this before, and it's not a knock on you. You probably were one of the most broken men I've ever seen in my life. And I see where you are today, and there are many parts of your story that are still broken.
Yeah.
But you're like Humpty Dumpty.
Just because of the eggshell color, you son of a bitch, I swear.
But I'm watching you in real time starting to put yourself back together again.
Yeah.
So in 1 year, if you had a crystal ball, where do you think you're going to end up next year?
So if past is prologue, right? Any predictor of history? When you said I thought of actually a quote. So during the time, when we first met up until now, I became a member. Can I say our church?
Yeah,
it seems
sure.
like a little weird, like I became a member of the congregation of the church, but I do feel it's our church.
Of course.
That I share with everybody. And you were instrumental in, number one, getting me into church.
It was a hard pull. It was a hard pull. I would say, hey, why don't you come to church? Why don't you come? I'm not ready.
Well, the story behind that, and I think we talked about it, is when you asked a couple times, and of course I overdress, right? There's stories all over that with me overdressing, but I had clothes planned out and pressed. a couple of times. And I remember I said, listen, man, I don't want to disappoint you. I don't want to go there. Like, this is your thing. I go there and I leave. Like, I think that would just sort of leave a failure for you. I would feel like a disappointment. And then the days kept coming. And then it came up to June. And we know that one date in June, the one day I went, it was Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, it feels right. It's a big letter day for me on the calendar. And I went, and I never looked away. So the reason I mention that is because you also were instrumental in getting me into baptism.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, Reformed Catholic. So went in there and doing a believer's baptism. It's an emotional moment. And you were my sponsor.
I wanted to have you feel the same thing I felt when I went through baptism.
Man.
Okay. And I described it to you like this. I told you this. I went into that water where we baptize our members. It's in an atrium and it's very noisy. The acoustics aren't the best. And it's so noisy in there. But I remember hearing all this noise, and then I went under the water. And when I came out, even though people are cheering and people are clapping and everybody's overjoyed, it was like the volume got turned way down and it was silence. It was the most bizarre experience of my life. It really was cathartic to me. I'm
getting chills literally thinking about it, because it really is an emotional moment. And I'll tell you about Pastor Adam Burt, our pastor. He almost gave his same sort of introduction. I don't know if you remembered it all, but when he was saying that he saw me in the church and you told him about me, he said, it's supposed to be
keep them away from the children's ministry.
Yeah, and you made the water extra cold. Thanks for that.
I was in charge of that day, and to be honest, our water heater broke.
Yeah, so, sure it did.
Yeah,
everybody else didn't.
I went in there with a hammer, but
yeah. But he said, Tom, when I saw you, and he goes, I looked at him, and he said this. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if this guy's going to make it. And if the pastor of a church, given his history and what he's been through, and he looks at me and says, I don't know if this guy's going to make it, I said, holy shit, man, I must have really been a train wreck. So I appreciate it. But my point is that from the year I came aboard until now, there has been a change. And I feel it. A lot of things, it's not alone. It's due to you. It's due to our group. It is due to the church. It's a support. So a year from now, I would say, man, I look for this every day. You know what is in my heart that I want the most. Mm-hmm. And I want to be reunited with my daughters. So that's where you see yourself in 1 year reunited? I hope so. Well, I'm going to tell you. And physically, and I'm looking for physical improvements, believe it or not. Okay. I do really I'm on that track. Keep looking, because you're playing hide and seek with that one. Keep the receipt for my supplements, because there might have been a recall. No. But it's a really cool thing to see that, because the church, especially with somebody who's non-denominational Christian, yeah, it can be a bit jarring when you go in there, and I prep everybody for going in there. But I do it with a whole heart, hoping that they grab a little bit of what I was able to feel. Like, I want to share that experience. It's not me trying to convert you. It's not me trying to have you run away from your faith. It's me trying to bring you into your faith, because I truly believe that is a better way to live. Okay? And sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't work, but for those it works, it really works. Oh yeah, So in 1 year time, this is for yourself. This is for me. I've watched this past year change a crazy amount. And I started going out with Sherry, and So with the faith aspect of it, I really started diving into my faith. I became the deacon of the church, and I got all these different responsibilities in there, and that's my love language, is in order to serve. So that's what deacon means. It's to serve. So it fit me very perfectly. And then I started, when I did that, when I dove head first, and no life vest, no nothing, I dove in head first. I watched different things in my life change, right? I've watched me going out with Sherry and traveling cross country and reaching a whole different audience. I've seen the Jubilee. I just did Law by Mike, and I got the documentary that I'm filming tonight. I've seen all these different things become better. My message becomes much broader, but it doesn't change the message, right? So yeah. If I look in 1 year, my message is going to be absolutely rock solid the same, without a doubt. I have no illusions that my core message will stay the same. But what I do see changing is I see people's ears starting to open up. I see people becoming more receptive to the message that's being spoken about. I had the opportunity to lead service a couple weeks ago, You did a great job. It pains me to tell you that. But you did a great job, bastard.
And I want people to realize this, for a sinner like me, for somebody who's made about every wrong decision and done just about every wrong thing, for me to come full circle and to stand up there when I was going through college, I went in for theological studies. I wanted to be a pastor, and then I lost my faith, which we will get into.
Yeah.
But I saw, like, it took me 30 years to realize something that I was meant to be. I just wasn't meant to be that when I was 20. Maybe I'm meant to do that when I'm 50.
Yeah.
And so if I look further in a year, I look at all the stuff that happened in past years, and I'm not chasing past victories. I'm excited about the future because I put my faith in God. I put my faith in Jesus, and the path sort of, let me see if I can lay this out a little bit more picturesque. The path I was walking was covered in shrubbery, and it was covered in just, it was unwalkable.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I dove headfirst into my faith and I found Jesus Christ and I accepted Jesus Christ, it was like Jesus was walking in front of me with a weed whacker. And all of a sudden the path became crystal clear, and I knew exactly where I needed to go.
Uh-huh.
So if I look in a year, I'm going to keep following Jesus, and he's going to keep clearing that path along my way. And the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. You want something in life? Give yourself to the Lord, and you'll see where that comes from. And I know I sound very preachy and stuff like this, and people are going, he's a Jesus freak and stuff. I am a Jesus freak. Because I've seen firsthand the power of that faith. And that's what tonight's about.
The other things will fall into place. And to your credit, you don't really start out with a plan B. Plan B is a recipe for failure.
Exactly. There's no need for a plan B on this one. There really is no need for a plan B, because when all hell's breaking loose, if you ask, you will get what you need. Not what you want. You will get what you need.
Yeah.
And that's where I see myself. And I know it's a vague answer, but that's where I see myself in a year. I see myself still following this particular path, following my faith, being 100% positive that this is the way that I need to live my life, where God comes first, and the path just sort of opens up, and the opportunities are coming along, and I'm not asking for them.
Yeah.
I'm not searching for them. They're finding me. It's the way to go.
Listen, it's imbibed by the Marine Corps, right? God, country, Corps.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not that foreign of a concept.
And then your wife and kids are all the way down at the bottom.
Yeah.
So Hal Jordan's Lantern, thank you for sending that question in. Keep sending in your questions, and we will try to get them on the air. So tonight, I wrote down, I remember during the inception of this podcast, I wrote down topics.
Okay.
I just, on a pad, I would write down topics, and one of those topics, and I still have it, is Jesus Christ. I had no faith at the time. But I wrote down Jesus Christ. And I'm telling you, when I tell you I had absolutely zero faith, I lost my faith in college, and the genesis of me losing my faith, we're going to get into.
Good.
But I wrote down Jesus Christ. Okay?
Something about the Lord's guiding, gentle hand maybe in there. Who knows?
You're always led in a direction where you need to be, right?
Maybe.
So I've been thinking about this concept for a long time. And for a long time on this show, I said, you know what? We're not going to discuss religion. We're just not going to get into it. And then I met this guy, Adam Burt, and we did a whole episode about a man of God, episode 16. It was one of the most, and he's a professional hockey player. Well, that's what I wanted to talk about initially, but it was more.
Yeah.
It was so much more.
Yeah.
So tonight we're here to talk about the suffering of Jesus Christ, because there is no greater sufferer on the planet Earth. Whether you're Christian, non-Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever it is,
yeah,
everybody knows the story of Jesus. He is one of the most iconic people on the planet. Everybody knows. There is not one person on planet Earth that doesn't know who Jesus Christ is.
I mean, when I saw it on the guest list, I thought, this is going to be the best challenge coin we're ever going to get, right?
Well, it just says Yahweh on it.
I mean, listen, that one goes right in the front.
When I grew up learning about Jesus, I grew up Lutheran. Okay, I didn't grow up Catholic. I went to Catholic high school, but I grew up Lutheran, which, for those of you who don't know, Christianity is a big giant umbrella. So I have to start this, because you'd be surprised how many people don't know this.
Yeah, what's the core difference? Like me being Catholic, what is the core difference from like Catholicism and Lutheran?
We do, so as a Lutheran, it was you do mass confession, not one-on-one confession where the priest can have his way with you.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was horrible. That was absolutely horrible, but it's true. You do mass confession. There's a little addendum onto the Lord's Prayer. For thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. That's the addendum towards the Lord's Prayer. But it's very similar. Listen, it's very similar. And Lutherans were started by Martin Luther. When he posted the 99 Thesis, and that was 99 things that the Catholic Church did wrong. Catholic Church has a not very nice past to it. You know, there were some popes who were less than ethical. And
Of course.
so
The business of religion.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, right? The true genesis of Lutheranism is to try to create something better without the problems. Now, is there Lutherans who are unethical and megalomaniacs and bad people? 100%. Every time you get a person with a little bit of power, they will inevitably, some people will use it for their own personal benefit.
There's always a smidge of organizational dysfunction, right? Because an organization's made up of people, and the people are not perfect; they're imperfect.
But you were taught Jesus. I was taught Jesus. He was almost like a mythological creature. Okay, he was no different than Pan to me. He was no different than Zeus or any type of Greek god. It was a lot of mythology involved and very little science.
I would agree.
Okay.
Usually, like in Catholic churches, if you see a figure of Jesus, it's in a stained glass window, and there's this like giant aura behind, and it's these imagery that you see is very sort of angelic, I guess. I don't know even how to put it. Like a deity, something behind it, and you're thinking like, is this magic myth type thing?
I never saw Jesus as mythology. Like I saw Jesus as a person, like as an individual, an individual person that I could connect to. All right. Even down when I was in Catholic high school, I used to do this thing that wasn't very popular, right?
Here we go.
Well, outside of the principal's office, there was a statue of Jesus on a cross, hands like this. Well, I used to go up and give high 10, right? High fives. I didn't really mean disrespect by it.
Yeah.
The priests really didn't like it.
Wow.
Really didn't like it. But that was my connection. Like, what do you do to your friend? Back then, the high-fiving's a little weird right now. But what do you do to your friend? You give him a high five, right? Yeah. That was that was the relationship that I had back then. Like, no, this is a man. This is one of the greatest lines I ever heard. That when they did Brett Favre mic'd up, and he goes, "What, you think Jesus never farted?" Right? You humanize Jesus. Yeah. He can be both. He was, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. He was everything all in one. So he was a human. Jesus pooped. I'm going to tell you right now, we don't like to think about that, but he was a living man. Yeah. But outside of the divinity of Jesus, the real man himself, Jesus was African. All right. Many people don't know that.
Well, listen, the history that I know is that the imagery that we see is different from the real man. Certainly, of that area, olive complected. One thing I heard recently is that he likely did not have the long hair that he's usually pictured.
I've seen both ways. Yeah,
he might have had sort of a mid-length hair as opposed to what we see with the longer hair. So I think artistic impressions,
But he did have blue or green eyes.
Yeah,
he did have, which was odd. Mm-hmm. You're in Africa. Not too many people in Africa with blue eyes. It's a genetic abnormality. It's a genetic mutation to have blue eyes.
I think there's major collective agreement that Jesus of Nazareth exists. Like right. That person, like where he gets to be, he's the Son of God. Like you were saying, Islam believes that Jesus existed.
Correct. Every major religion believes. I was just having this conversation. I was speaking with a girl in Alberta, Canada, and she's Muslim, right? She does a lot of stuff in mental health, and they like real true Muslims love Jesus Christ. Yeah, they love him. They just don't think he was the prophet. They think he was a prophet, not the prophet. And that's where we cross.
The Messiah.
Right. They think Muhammad in 422 ascended, and that's the whole thing of it. But the fact that he was a real man,
Yeah.
and he really did walk this earth 2,000 years ago. They believe he was born somewhere between either 3 or 4 BC to 3 or 4 AD, somewhere in that range. And he was born in Bethlehem, which is in Africa, and that's why I say Jesus is African.
For sure.
He was not Christian at birth.
No, he's Jewish, and a devout Jew.
I've had this argument with people, and it just blows my mind. I've had this argument where people say, no, Jesus was a Christian. No. But he was absolutely a real man. The Roman historian Josephus actually writes down his crucifixion and documents his crucifixion. And there's plenty of other historians. I think there's 40 vetted and documented, verified sources, the last I heard, that proved Jesus Christ was a real man and did walk the earth.
And a lot of it was confirmed in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And with the Dead Sea Scrolls, I think they were discovered, what was it, 1947 or something like that?
47, yes.
I think. I'm guessing.
You're right.
I don't know if I'm accurate, but somewhere around that
it was
time.
somebody trying to flush one of their goats out of a cave, and he threw a rock up there, and they heard something smash.
Ain't that crazy?
Yeah.
Right? So even those fragmented portions confirm the existence of Jesus of Nazareth. Mm-hmm. Not so much about the childhood, but his adulthood, carpenter up to 30, 34 years old.
Well, so there's the mythology involved in it, right? They say Jesus was of humble birth, but his father was the house of David, right? When you're descended from a royal line, you're not very poor.
Yeah.
Even the third and fifth and 16th cousins had something. So you're from the royal line.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was a humble carpenter, that's the one where I'm not 100% sure on. There's evidence pointing the other way for me.
Poor guy had to share his birthday with Christmas.
I know, that's horrible, isn't it?
You know what I mean?
Well, so we're going to get in. I want to get into that a little bit later, the meshing of paganism and Christianity.
Yeah.
All right, because that's a very important part. But do you see, let me ask you this question. Have you ever seen any type of verified or vetted source that say Jesus didn't exist?
Now it's all sort of circumspection, I believe. There's no proof of, it's hard to prove a negative, right? So that side, I get it, but I have never seen it myself.
Are you ready to enhance your skills and provide the best care to those who need it the most? I'm Kevin Donaldson.
I'm Sherry Alsop. Our trauma-informed training is here to help, and we've been traveling across the country delivering this essential need to departments and organizations of every size, shape, and makeup.
We come to you with on-site training so you don't have to worry about travel or scheduling conflicts.
This isn't just a class, it's an interactive experience. You'll learn directly from subject matter experts who teach from a victim's point of view, putting you in the shoes of those who have experienced trauma.
This approach allows you to understand trauma on a deeper level and to better serve the individuals you work with.
We'll guide you through new interview techniques that prioritize a victim-centered approach, ensuring safety and empathy in every conversation.
And for those of you in law enforcement or other fields, our training includes post-credits, giving you the extra added value and recognition for your commitment to professional growth.
We offer references upon request to show just how effective our training can be.
Don't miss the opportunity to improve your understanding of trauma and make a real difference in the lives of those you serve. Get in touch with us today by going to sherryalsop.com and let us bring trauma-informed training to your organization.
Together, we can make a lasting impact.
The absence of any disproof is often proof enough, right? So we've found stuff, time and time again, dating back to that time, written record. There's tons of stuff. Aside from the written records that we do have, there is not one source, not one, that has verified that he didn't exist.
Correct. And the crucifixion, I think, is the most highly documented of them all.
That crucifixion, people don't, oh God, you want to talk about suffering.
The brutality of a crucifixion.
Started by the Persians.
Yeah.
And perfected by the Romans.
Yeah.
Was probably the worst source of torture.
Usually dying of asphyxia because they can't breathe. And the cross was not the only one. Sometimes there were straight shapes.
Sometimes there were X's. Sometimes there were just a crossbar. There's all different ways of doing it with the same outcome.
And they would break the legs so you couldn't support yourself. Towards the end of it,
they would hit the shin.
Yeah, and break the legs, and then you couldn't support yourself, and that's what caused the asphyxia. Never mind the scourging at the pillar and everything else before that.
So modern day crucifixion, we know pretty much from Mel Gibson. Like, that's what people think it was.
Passion of the Christ.
Prior to that, they just think he was nailed to a cross through his hands, through his feet, which is bad enough. But if you ever stabbed yourself, you know that pain is temporary, and it won't hurt forever because your body will go into some sort of shock. It'll guard against it. But true crucifixion, because there are written records of what true crucifixion is, people just don't look very heavily.
And they don't die right away.
No, that's the worst part. But prior to becoming an adult, when you were a child, tell me what your vision of what a crucifixion is.
Believe it or not, when I was a younger child, I was a little bit of a nerd. But I remember actually watching, remember the show In Search Of?
Yeah, with Leonard Nimoy. Yeah.
So I remember In Search Of, they actually did things.
That's what Discovery and History that's where they got their start.
It was really, they went UFOs, they went Loch Ness Monsters, Bigfoot, the whole thing. And one of them was Jesus. And I remember one of the contentions, and it kind of makes sense when you see the Mel Gibson version, is, they talk about people that get the stigmata. Mm-hmm. The stigmata is when somebody of faith has it so powerful. Like
the 5 wounds of Jesus.
Absolutely. And there were sort of different versions of it where they were saying, well, you know what? The hand and the bone itself, if you were to put a nail through it, it's not enough to support the whole human body.
You could rip it right out.
And then they say, well, the nail could have or would have likely gone in the wrist, or like you see in the Mel Gibson movie, that they're bound by rope and then also nailed in by the hand. And I tend to believe the rope and the nail.
So believe it or not, they know crucifixion existed, but they've only found one verified skeletal remain of somebody who was crucified.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and there's only one small little wrist bone. All right, and there's a nail stuck in it, and it's in the wrist.
Yeah.
All right, that is the only. So as much as we know about crucifixion is as much as we don't know about crucifixion.
I thought there was one, and I could be wrong. I thought I saw it somewhere where there was actually a recovered foot. And it was
maybe it was a foot. I thought it was a wrist, but
you might be right. But then maybe the two things could be true.
It's just one. It's just all I know is it's just one.
Just one, yeah. And it was through their heel bone. I thought, but I don't know. You could be right. I remember seeing it somewhere.
Aside from like Jesus in general, aside from crucifixion, we got to remember he carried a cross, and I forget the weight of, but they suspected it was 200 or 300 pounds.
Yeah,
that he had to carry, wearing this crown of thorns. Which
the insult to insults.
The thorns, when they put the crown of thorns on his head, they dug it in and made sure that's just, holy cow. So now
the agony.
I don't know if I've never been to that region, but I know people who have. It's not like winter, okay? It's warm pretty much year round.
Yeah.
So now you have thorns going into your head.
Sweat.
We all know what face wounds do. The sweat, the blood running into your eyes, stinging every little thing. And every time you hit it, it's going to cause another injury and it's going to hurt more. So, and that's actually the minor thing.
Yeah. The beforehand was absolutely brutal.
Now, here's the second part, is the scourging. Yeah. We've seen this, and it's very hard to watch in The Passion of the Christ. And I'm not taking that as canonized law.
No.
But it gives you a good idea. I do know it looks like sort of like a cat of nine tails. You know that from bedroom play.
Forgive us.
Jesus knows what you did.
All right.
So it looks like a cat of nine tails, and on there were shards of pottery, shards of bone, anything that would just rip, and they would hit and pull.
Yeah.
So it would cause the incision and rip. Now, he was scourged 39 times, and that's a very, very important number because it was illegal to scourge more than 40. It was illegal according to Roman law.
Mm-hmm.
39 times. And it just ripped at his flesh over and over and over again. Can you imagine?
Watching the movie that I've seen more than once. If there's a dry eye watching that, and if you have an ounce of humanity, no matter what your belief, you agree with the brutality of that.
When you're watching that, and I know it's just a movie, but we know that happened. When you're watching that, the first time you watched it, did you look away? No, you were a cop, so, you've seen some nasty shit.
Yeah.
I didn't want to look at it. I got a different way of doing it now, but was that something that you felt like, I can't watch this?
It reminded me of a DOA. I don't know if you've had any decayed DOA, dead on arrival, deceased person.
For several weeks, yeah.
Yeah, and you see what happens to the body and the decomposition, and then you start to see things on the inside, on the outside, and you get a bird's eye view into the organs and the rib cage and things like that. And that happened while this man was alive. And in Passion of the Christ, I think there's sort of caning before the actual cat and nine tails. So
they were beating him.
Already and that's the beating when he was first arrested in the garden in Gethsemane. The beating went on there, and then continued with the caning, but I remember watching it, and it did trigger, I hate using trigger, but it brought back the memory of DOAs and how awful it is. Terrible.
You think about the inhumanity that the people who did this, and how do you do something like this? Well, here's how you do it.
Yeah.
You dehumanize. We saw this during World War II and what Nazis did to Jews. You dehumanize a person, and you can pretty much do whatever you want to do. Like if I take this cup, I know it's not a human being, and I throw it up against the wall, no big deal, I go get another cup.
Yeah.
All right? That's how people view somebody who they are able to just brutalize over and over again because they're not human. They're a different species. We kill animals for food all the time. How do we do that? We dehumanize them.
And what did they do beforehand? They released a known murderer, Barabbas.
Well, that was in front of the Sanhedrin where they said, who do you want?
And the people said, give us a known murderer. And they let a known murderer go. The guy went before Pontius Pilate. Then he goes before King Herod. I mean, they're trying to maintain order in their civilization or their realms or regions, but they let them go, and they like Pontius Pilate famously washed his hands of Jesus's blood, and they let a murderer out, and they crucify this man. Why? Because he insulted the status quo and the organized religion, the Pharisees.
The Pharisees, how it was put was the Pharisees read but don't understand.
Yeah.
All right. They read the scripture, but they don't understand it. Where, for the first time in the New Testament, when Jesus makes his appearance, we start to see a different view of the religions, the more humane, the more turn the other cheek. Yeah. Where, the Old Testament would say an eye for an eye, that now all of a sudden we're thinking about it in a new way. No, God's love is something different. He forgives. He does all this stuff. And we see the parables of the coming of Jesus in Old Testament over and over and over again. If you go back to Abraham and Isaac. Mm-hmm. Abraham didn't have kids until his 90s, and he's told by God to go sacrifice your child. And Abraham, strongest man I've ever seen at that ever read about at that point, is going to go sacrifice his only son Isaac until God says, I can't do this. I can't do this to another man. And then gets a ram caught in the thicket, and that's what they sacrificed that day. But the faith that took, and then you see David and his whole life, how his life played out in real time, and there's another coming of Jesus, and then with Jacob and all down the line, you see these little things that this person is coming, and it all has to come down to the crucifixion. It all comes down to that. Jesus is put up on this cross on Calvary Hill. He's up there for a long time, and he's just suffering. But they say there's reports that you could see his rib cage. You could see his intestines. Yeah. He's naked. He doesn't have a cloth up there. He is up there naked. Did you know that according to Roman law, you could not crucify a Roman citizen?
I think that's one of the reasons that Pontius Pilate originally would not crucify him, right?
Mm-hmm. You cannot crucify a Roman citizen. It was against the law. You could only that was a Jewish thing. You know, that was the how they do it. But here's another one. Here's another thing. This is why the Sanhedrin and the Pharisees, they needed Pontius Pilate, because it is against the law to execute in Jewish law.
Mm.
Can't execute somebody. It's not for human beings to do.
No death penalty.
No
basically.
death penalty. So they needed him to do that. And all this guy did was just question the status quo, like you said.
And he rubbed the Pharisees the wrong way so bad. There's one parable or passage in the Bible that resonates with me, and it shows the humanity of Jesus, the human being. And he could be prone to anger. So when you see he was worshiping in the temple 2 times, there's 2 things that come into my head. The Pharisees were seeing if he would adhere to the Sabbath. So he's in the temple on a Saturday, and there is a mason, according to how the story goes, and he has what we would describe as an occupational injury. He has a maimed hand. And the Pharisees are watching him to see if he will, quote unquote, break the Sabbath. Like he's literally, like he's got eyeballs on him, you know what I mean? And these big stuffed shirts basically are watching to see, like, hey, what's this guy going to do? And the way the story goes, if I'm portraying it correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that he wants to heal him. And they kind of come down on him for breaking the Sabbath. And he goes, well, what is it? Is it better to adhere to this dogma, this doctrine, or is it better to help or heal somebody? And he caught some stuff for it. And the other one is where this is a little bit more famous one, and it's portrayed, I guess, in The Greatest Story Ever Told. Mm-hmm. That's sort of the other, famous Jesus film, if you will, where he's going in there and there are people making profit in the areas where they're selling and they're doing these financial transactions, and it's blocking the way where other people could go and worship. And as the story goes, he goes over there and starts flipping freaking tables like Jersey Housewife style. You know what I mean?
But again, that lends to Jesus's humanity right there.
Yeah.
He's a real man.
Yep.
What real men get aggravated.
Yeah. Prone to human emotion.
I always wondered, it's kind of strange. I always wondered if, by way of sorrow, if Jesus ever cursed. Do you think one day he hit because he's a carpenter, hits his thumb and goes, Jesus Christ.
What did Italians curse at before Jesus was around?
This is
a
good question.
Jesus freaking Christ. Well, wait a second. What did you say before? Caesar Augustus. I don't know.
So I look at that crucifixion as one of the most horrific things that ever took place.
Yeah, man.
And it happened a lot. It happened a lot. And at that time, Jesus' reign was thought to be over. His apostles, he was betrayed, obviously, by Judas for 30 pieces of silver.
Yeah.
Now,
betrayed with a kiss.
I want to throw this out because I have a very, very unpopular theory about heroes and villains.
Careful.
I got this real unpopular thing, and it might be blasphemous, but I don't think it is. So Jesus, when he was born, had a destiny.
Mm-hmm.
All right, he's son of God, which is another whole thing where Mary's like, oh, Joseph, by the way, I'm pregnant, and it's the Immaculate Conception. Joseph's one of the strongest men. I'm like, oh, yeah, I believe you.
Yeah,
sure, I believe you.
There's a body of a Jewish landscaper somewhere that we don't know about.
Yeah. So it took an enormous amount of faith for Joseph as well. But Jesus was born with a destiny. He knew that as he became aware, he started ministering when he was 12, and then you don't hear from him again until he's 30. But he knew in order to fulfill his destiny, he had to die.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, those who know the ending of the story don't fear the troubles and tribulations throughout that story. So he knew what was going to happen. He knew, obviously, that Judas was going to betray him, even though he tried to make sure Judas didn't do that. But Jesus needed Judas. He needed him. He needed him to betray him. He needed to sit on that cross on Calvary Hill. He needed to be executed. So, if Judas had a destiny, and in order for Jesus to fulfill his destiny, Judas had to be the conduit in order to do that.
So he's partially a hero in your mind?
Correct.
Wow.
I know that's weird. Think about some of the villains in your story,
in
your personal story, that were conduits in order to get to where you are now.
It is
Right.
true.
You know, you may see them as a villain, but then when you get far enough away from it, you start saying, oh, Anthony Vocatoro, the guy who shot at me.
Yeah.
He was not, I used to think he was a villain. He's not a villain. He pushed me in a position I needed to go into.
He altered your path for sure.
So
Bad at first.
Yeah. And bad for Jesus at first.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's no walk in the park. But Judas's role in the whole divinity of everything was essential. So therefore, is he a villain? Like, that's my question. I don't know. I'm starting to see him as an essential part of that story. Probably the most essential part of that story.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that one. And I've said that before in other church groups and Bible studies, and I get side-eyed.
Yeah. Well, how else would the destiny be fulfilled? I mean, it could have been other ways, but none of them were likely good.
That just seemed to be the most direct path.
Yeah.
You know, and
the amount of betrayal to Jesus as well. The famous thing with Peter, right? You know, you will deny me 3 times.
Thomas had to see proof of him when he was resurrected.
Doubting Thomas.
The doubting Thomas. And it speaks to Jesus's love, knowing that all this is going to happen and still keeping these people very close.
Yeah.
You imagine the smell on those 12 guys walking in the desert, that hot sun.
Yeah.
No showers. Oof, ripe.
Even with Peter, when he stands up, you remember when they were doing the arrest in the garden, right? So, you know, Peter is the one who actually, even though he denies him later when he's brought before trial, you know, denies he even knows Jesus. Never mind, he's one of his disciples. Like one of his closest confidants, the rock on which he builds the church. He gets a betrayal that I don't even know this man. I never saw him before. But Peter, when the arrest happens in the garden, he, you know, infamously cuts off one of the soldiers' ears. And then his own captors, if you can imagine this, like he's being arrested, or cops, like when we go to arrest somebody and you see like one of your fellow officers, he got his ear cut off. I mean, there's going to be some use of force going back, like, you know, undoubtedly. And what does Jesus do? According to the parable, he goes and he brings back the ear and he heals the soldier's ear and tells Peter to put down your sword.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is fulfilling a destiny. When he goes before trial, when he goes before the Pharisees, he says nothing at first to even in his own defense. And by the way, since you know, like I'm a court system guy and a legal guy, he got a bum rap because the trial that they held was at night. The night trial was like undercover. Like, yes, people convened, but the night trial where they actually, quote unquote, convicted him was bullshit. You know what I mean? He got a bum rap. You know, I'm not trying to play lawyer here, but, you know, screwed up the betrayal.
The cool thing is how this 2,000-year-old story relates to you and I, okay?
Oof.
There are times throughout our life, and this is something we have in common, not skin tone, but we have other things in common, where we lost our faith. We lost that look into that divinity of Jesus. Briefly, why don't you tell us a little bit about your loss of faith?
I have to tell you, when I was, you know, going through the most painful part of my life, losing, listen, a lot of people lose their job. A lot of people lose their freedom. A lot of people lose their career. A lot of people lose their family. Mine happened all at once. And I'm not putting my stuff on a pedestal and all this thing, but it was bad. You know, I think everybody would agree, like all these things happening and converging all at once ain't great. And I had the question that I say everybody else says, why me? Why would you do this to me? Like I was a, you know, good father. In my opinion, I was a good cop, good boss. Why me? Really, then when I start getting back into faith, what makes you so special? Why not you? And guess what? Why not you for this gift of suffering? Because we are going to make you suffer to put you on a path where you can take your suffering. Who wants advice from somebody who's never gone through something shitty? Like, you know, if you have a problem and you're upset, you have, you know, depression, whatever's going on, You don't want to hear from somebody that has a rosy-colored life. Like, how are you going to give me advice? And it's usually sucky. It's something off a Hobby Lobby sign. Live, laugh, love. Oh, that's all there is? 3 things? I should have just went to Hobby Lobby and bought the live, laugh, love sign. That makes it all better. You know, my family's gone. My career's destroyed. I'm in jail.
It's easy to sit there and look at all the bad stuff and look at all the downsides. It's easy to do that. But there's an inevitability in pain and suffering.
Yeah.
If pain and suffering exists, if horrific events such as yours exist, that should prove to you one thing. There is also the other side of that, because there is always a back and a front. There's always a light and a dark.
Yeah.
In order for there to be a light, because if it's not light and dark, it just is. You know, I lost my faith in a much different way. I had faith. I had nominal faith. I was a fence sitter. I was the person sitting on the fence. But I thought it was pretty good until I read Samuel's 1 and 2. And I took this course in college, Dr. John Becker, and it was Bible as literature. He's a priest that left the order in order to marry none. He was a Jesuit priest. And I'm reading this book, and it's violent. And Samuel's 1 and 2. And I'm a big King David guy. Like, people know this. I love the stories of King David.
Yeah.
And I'm reading this stuff, and it is so, so violent. I'm like, how can a God, a forgiving God, do this? This is crazy. And I just like, phew, it was overnight, because my faith was fragile. My faith was very fragile.
I can relate.
And for 30 years, I'd say 25 years, nothing. No, I would sit there and question everybody who was religious. I'm like, hey, where's the Christmas tree in the manger? It's like real snarky shit.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Who would have thunk it from you?
But you know what I was looking for when I did that, and I never got it. I would just say, oh, you're going to tell me you got some Jewish guy walking around in the desert with 12 of his friends, and the wives aren't going to be pissy at home that look, Peter, you're never home, and all that stuff. I just used to think it was the biggest lie out there. I really did.
I believed in it. I mean, I had a pretty thorough Catholic upbringing. I was an altar boy as well. Easy. Take it easy.
Boy, there's a lot that can come out of that one.
Yeah, store that away. That will come out at a later time. But like I really did, and I think at least my church and my grammar school and upbringing, like they were big on reading the Bible. So like this is how I accrued all that. Never really said I don't believe in God. I'm just like, why? And some of the answers that at least I think I'm working on now is, hey, dude, it's not for you. Like, your success is not what you're here for. You're not here for your own success. We're going to make your story as fucked up as we can, and you're going to tell somebody about it, and they're going to get the help. Your suffering is not for you. It's for the other person that you're going to go and help them through their shit. We're training you to be, not a savior, I don't want to put it that way, but to be somebody's life raft.
Again, it goes back to that one maxim. God gives you what you need, not what you want. You needed your suffering. I needed my suffering. I needed it.
I might be what somebody else needs. Don't make fun of that either, you bastard.
Go back to the bathhouse comment.
Yeah.
But they put you in a place that you must be in order to fulfill your destiny. I firmly believe that. Now, we fight that tooth and nail, right? We fight the fact that we don't want to feel pain. We don't want to suffer. We don't want to be uncomfortable, and we become soft. All right? We become ungrateful people as a race, as a species. We're just the most ungrateful things in the world. You want to see what true grace and true appreciation looks at? Look at a dog, your dog, when you walk in the door.
Yeah.
That's true appreciation. That's, oh my God, this wonderful being has finally home, and I'm so happy. You know, how many dogs pee?
Yeah,
because they're so happy.
Yeah.
That is the divinity. That the way that dog looks at you is the way that I now look at Jesus. Because when he comes home, I got no fear of anything. I know how this story ends. I know how all of our stories end. Guess what? We're going to be in the ground or burn up. Or this is how it all ends.
Yeah.
And I don't fear it at all. At all. So the walk back to faith was a little rough. you know. You went through your walk back to faith a little bit. Mine came sort of, hit me at an angle. That was Pastor Adam Burt coming in and talking on the show in episode 16, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Early 2021. And it just stuck in my head and stuck in my head and stuck in my head. And I go to church and I get this feeling and I'm like, I've never felt this feeling before, because the church that we go to is so vastly different from any other church I've ever been in my life.
Same here.
The churches that I've always been involved in have been ritualistic, psalm, hymn, communion, go in peace and serve the Lord. Praise be to God.
Yeah.
And that was it. You're done. You're gone.
Yeah.
This is more of a family, more of a community. And we say that very, very purposely, that we are a church family. I know every single person in that church, which was the reason when I led service, which was so difficult, because I can speak in front of 10,000 faceless people, put me in front of 200 people who I know intimately.
Yeah.
Who I know their story, I know their families, I know where they live, I know how they think, and now all of a sudden you're pushed up there.
Yeah.
So that
I really never knew initially that you were a God-fearing, church-going man at all. That kind of came later as I got to know you a little bit better, and then you started saying, "Hey, you want to come to church?" I'm like, "Which one's going to burn up first, you or me?"
Well, you can't tell because of my mouth. Okay,
Yeah.
I have a bad mouth. All right, and we're sitting here, we're talking about Jesus, and we're cursing and stuff.
Yeah.
My words, those words have no meaning to me. I will say them. A lot of times I say a lot of the stuff I say is to be funny. Okay, let's be very honest. I break your balls because it's funny. You're my friend, and that's how I show my affection to my friends. You show your affections to friends a little bit weird way, but
when I came in the studio, I saw you pee a little.
Yeah.
That might be for a different reason.
You prefer to remove shirts the way you show affection, but you can't. So there's room in following Jesus in that, and I believe that there's room in that.
Yeah. I don't feel the guilt of like dropping an F-bomb or saying shit or something. I do think, out of matter of respect, you don't go to church and you don't wear a hat as a man. I know it sounds stupid, like that's sort of a Catholic thing. And the reason I was told is when you walk into church, a man's crowning glory is his crown and a woman's crowning glory is their hair. So I'm of the old school mentality is when you're in the house of worship that, the hair is generally covered. I know that's like way old school. They don't do that. But for a guy, they still wear either a baseball cap or something. And for some reason, I can't get over that. If I see a guy in church and he's wearing a baseball hat,
which we say,
I have disdain for him. Or not disdain, but I'm saying like, hey, dude, take off your hat. It's like the national anthem.
Correct. My grandmother, might be a little racist, said the only people that wear hats in church or at dinner are Jewish people. I don't think she meant that very kindly. Yeah. But I prefer, I don't have a problem with people who do that, because a church is, it's build your altar wherever you can see. And a church is somewhere where you need to feel comfortable. And if that's how you feel comfortable, people are getting older, thin in hair, I don't know, maybe it'll make you feel a little bit comfortable. Yeah. There's room in there for that. And that's fine. You just come and worship with a whole heart. So
I'm getting over it.
How you appear in church or what I say out of church, I don't drop F-bombs in church. But I was also taught by a man to serve, Jimmy Flanagan. I was taught by a man who was a man.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And he did curse. He did drop F-bombs, but he was a true soldier of God. And I loved the way he served. And that's how he showed the church that he loved. So I was taught to curse. I had that way before him, but I was like, I remember the first time he dropped a curse word and I go, oh,
yeah.
And he's still a great man.
Yeah.
So what would you rather have? Would you rather have that person that never curses and says all the right stuff and, just never says a bad thing, but then goes out and sleeps with 50 different women and steals from people?
It's a veneer.
Right. What would you rather have?
For sure.
I'd rather have a guy that curses like a sailor, but is a true, hard man.
And I think that's a testament to our group as well. Like, between Bobby Credell and Mike DePalma, they're true people. We say language that would, I don't know, probably have Red Fox blushing in a corner. So but it's real. But I know they're good men.
A lot of it is
good men behind that.
If the heart is pure, in my opinion, if the heart is pure, the mouth
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. But since you returned to your faith, what is something that Jesus has brought into your life?
It's the feeling that I don't walk alone. And I think
You know who says that the best is Theo Vaughn.
he's got hair. I don't know. He's got a haircut.
He's got the mullet. But
Yeah.
he says it. He goes, listen, whether you're a Christian or whether you're not a Christian, but if you tell me something that there's somebody out there that makes me feel less alone and it's free, he actually says this, and it's a great line. He goes, that's a lottery ticket that you don't have to scratch.
Yeah.
And he's spot on with that one. Like, if I tell you that this is going to make your life better, what's the problem with giving a little bit? Giving a little bit. Just go try it.
I connect more with people like yourself. Listen, man, I wasn't a great person either. You know, like before I was a cop, like
You're
I
still
was
not.
Thank you. You really bolster the ego. You're always there. You're the wind beneath my wings, Kevin Donaldson. But I wouldn't have this sort of communal. It's like, wait a second, I'm not a piece of garbage or a bad person forever. Like, look at them. I said, they're all right, and they have a pretty checkered past, and I did things I was not proud of before I was a cop.
But then there's the grace in Jesus. And that's a strange thing. Getting back to that parable, right? So God wouldn't let Abraham, another man, do that to his son.
Yeah.
Okay? He couldn't stomach seeing another man having to do that in order to show faith. So what did God do? And what does any man do? I don't want you to have this pain. I'll go do it for you.
Yeah.
And he steps up and gives his only son, somebody that he loves more than anything else in the entire world, and is willing to give that. So by him giving his son, he erases all that stuff. Now, that's not a license to go sin.
Of course.
But when you do, because we're human beings, we're fallible, when you do go sin, and you can ask for forgiveness. And
Honestly.
And fully. And do your best not to repeat that behavior.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You're going to tell me it's a foreign concept to me. It's a foreign concept to me. But, you know, I pray every night, and that prayer fills my heart, and it cleanses my soul, and it makes me feel good. So what if it's not real?
What if we're completely wrong? Like the history of Jesus, like he existed. If he's not the Son of God, if they're, you know, you want to see the most devout, God-fearing person, go visit an atheist on their deathbed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you know, it gets real. But let's say we're all wrong. You and I are wrong. Is this not path that we're going down, like, generally beneficial to society and everybody that's around us, turning the other cheek, being kind, being forgiving?
Joe Rogan says it.
I don't see any wrongness in it.
Even if you're not a Christian, you should live like a Christian.
Exactly.
Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not cheat on your spouse. Thou shalt not lie. Thou shalt not steal. All that stuff.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Right? But here's the bottom line, and this is why I am a Christian. Because did you ever step in front of somebody and feel the love coming off of them?
Yeah. Yeah. A genuine
Catholic priest?
Yes.
But you know what I'm saying?
I had to pet the pulpit.
You feel the energy, right? You feel the love energy coming off of somebody. And there's people in my life that I actually, and it's not romantic love. Like it's got nothing to do with romantic love. But I feel that the genuine love coming off of their body. Well, that is the same feeling that I have every single day. And it took me a while to get there because when it first hit me, I didn't believe it. All right? I believe it now. It took me a while to believe it.
Well, the early years are probably formed in childhood. And from what we discussed, you didn't get a lot of that. So when it happens, you'd be a little distrustful.
I was a CEO Christian.
Christmas, Easter only?
That's right. That's right. That's when we showed up to church.
Yeah.
And it seems very hollow. It's like, these are the days because I don't want to go to hell, so I'm going to do just enough.
It's punching a time card.
Now, when I'm traveling and I have to miss church, I'm devastated. I planned my last LA trip. They were trying to fly me out on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
I said, I got to fly out on Sunday afternoon because I don't want to miss church.
And you did.
And that's exactly what I did. Thankfully,
Yeah.
I had enough juice to do that. It doesn't happen all the time. There are times that I have to miss church, and I miss it. Like, I really genuinely miss it.
Yeah.
It's like showing up at a family reunion of people you haven't seen, and it's only a week, but throughout the week, I speak to a lot of people in our church. I talk to them. I communicate with them. This is going on. This is going on. You got this? I speak to these people.
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it, because for me, I put Jesus first. I put God first, and then everything else under my life seems to fall into place. It's not to say the things underneath aren't important. That's not what it is. But if I put my faith in this, it's something that's never going to change or run away from my life.
The other things will work out, generally speaking.
The other things work out. So this path, now, I've had this experience where my life has gotten better, and I'm not looking for anything. I'm not looking for to be given anything, but my life has gotten better since I've dove headfirst into my faith.
Yeah.
Have you found the same experience?
I have. I mean, there's still parts that I'm looking for. It's gotten better for me. The sense of community. When I go to church, I feel like it's a battery recharge. And I'm not a singer. I'm not a dancer. I don't really, not that there's dancing.
I saw the
going on
hands
at the
go up
church.
in the air.
Yeah. I feel like that is something, by not doing it, because we don't look conspicuous, right? We're always kind of, we're supposed to be stoic. It's stoicism.
Do you remember what I told you when you first came into church? I said,
you're going to see some stuff.
I said, you're going to see some stuff, and you're going to go, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
Okay, because their hands are up in the air, and people are just full in their glory.
They're feeling genuine energy, I can tell you. Like, there's no faking it.
You look at it the first time, and you say, that is weird. All right?
Yeah.
I said it. I said it to my son, and my son was right next to me the first time I went. I just went to support Adam. And I was like, this is kind of weird. Then I started looking at it different. And then I started saying, what are they feeling?
Yeah.
To be unashamed, to throw their hands up in praise. And what I want a piece of that. I want to feel that too.
Yeah.
And my hands went up in the air. Aside from, we talk a lot about your family and your family dynamic and what's going on right now. All I encourage you to do is stay on the path just because of this evidence right here.
Yeah.
The greatest thing I've ever done in my entire life is bring my kids, and not willingly. I always asked them, but I never forced them to go to church. Every Sunday I'd get up and say, hey, you want to come to church? No, we're going to sleep in. No, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. Both of my children came of their own free will to church, and they are a part of the church. My youngest son, on his Jesus _ King or something like that.
Yeah, he's doing great stuff, man.
He's reading the Bible through a 12-year-old's eyes and then speaking about it on TikTok. And we found it. I found it by you are sitting right next to. I go, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
It is the most amazing thing in the world. That's the greatest thing I've ever done. So all I can do is, because of that roadmap that I didn't push,
Yeah.
I let it happen, patience. I encourage you to stay on that path, because if you do that, those other things are going to take care of themselves. I guarantee you.
Yeah, I want those girls to know that their father's a good man. Not whatever they've been told or whatever sort of construct of confinement that they're in.
One day they're going to look back and say, my father is a man of God. And no man of God who's got that much faith can be bad.
It was one of the reasons that I was excited to be promoted, because they put their hand on the Bible and they held our family Bible. But them to know that, because, hey, they want them to be proud that their father's a boss in a police department. But what you're talking about transcends the uniform, because where's that now?
Yeah.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It ends.
It's in ashes.
So as we wrap this stuff up, what is something, why would you encourage anybody to follow Jesus and become a Christian?
I think I think I have to go to the cup now. The thing's been sitting here. We talked about it. And listen, man, you're a smart guy. You know that. And for a cop, that's another sort of separate subsection. Great guys, but they're just not cerebral on some forms by function. So on my cup, it says Via Dolorosa. And we were going back and forth, and I was actually surprised that you didn't know. And it's not to slight you, man. Like, you know a ton of shit
Just
that,
call
that
me.
I
Just
don't.
call me stupid.
No, absolutely
Son
not.
of a bitch.
Yeah, so I'm ham-handing this one, just like the way I work with girls. So that Via Dolorosa is the actual path that Jesus took on the road in Jerusalem to crucifixion. And when translated literally, it's the way of suffering.
It's nice.
It's the way of suffering. And Jesus walked that path, the way of suffering, for an ultimate goal that was the divine one.
A pessimist is going to look at that, and that's his road to death. An optimist is going to look at that as that is his road to divinity.
That's the way I see it.
Right.
And whatever came my way, that's my Via Dolorosa. Not that I'm putting myself on par with Jesus. This is just being a follower of Jesus, and pain and the road and the way of suffering. There's something to it.
What a great way to wrap that up. In our lives, when we have pain, when we have suffering, when we have hardships, when we have troubles, we can either think about it as the road to a sure death, or we can think about it as the road to salvation and divinity.
A new
peace.
life.
So
never would ask for it.
That is the greatest parable ever. So we are coming to the end of this thing here, and of course follow you at the Tom Flynn across every platform.
Yeah.
I encourage people, anybody that wants to come to church, I'm always inviting people to church with me. I love it when people come to church, and hey, I'd say try it for a couple times. If you don't like it, no harm, no foul. We'll still be friends, and I'll still love you.
Yeah.
That was it.
Just not for you.
It's just not for you. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I
Or
always
it's not
encourage
just
people.
maybe it's just not the right time.
Yeah. So you come out to Every Nations New Jersey Church at 101 Gibraltar Drive. You'll see Tom and I there every weekend.
Absolutely. Sometimes serving.
Sometimes serving. Tom is kind enough to fill in for Deacon when I'm doing other things around there, so I'm overly appreciative of that one. So as we're coming to the end of this thing here, the suffering of Jesus Christ, and Jesus's path sort of just pushes off onto us, and that's why we are in the spot and on the path that he's the gardener. He's weed whacking those brushes out of the way so our path can be absolutely clear.
Yeah.
So it's real simple. That suffering that Jesus went through, that unbelievable, unparalleled suffering that he had to endure in order to meet his destiny, what has it taught you?
The greatest stories that are told are not ones that we would wish for. Going back to Jesus, when he was in the garden, he was actually begging, and as the story goes, he was going through so much agony over his destiny that he was bleeding. He was perspiring blood.
Which is a real medical condition.
Yeah. So, that's not a story of magic or some type of overly cooked Bible story. I didn't ask for any of my shit. You didn't ask, certainly, for any of your shit before your shooting, leading up to your shooting, right after your shooting. But embrace it after it happens. Don't look for trouble. Don't, try and do the right thing. Try and take the path that is best. But if this trouble falls upon you, it is for purpose. And Jesus is just a great example of it. He had his purpose. He was fulfilling his purpose. And this just happened to be mine, I guess. I don't know.
That suffering that Jesus endured has given me one of the greatest gifts I could ever have. And what that gift is can look a little lopsided to people. It can look very difficult to people. I've sat across from people who cannot or are not ready to do this, but that's the only way they're going to truly begin to heal. And that suffering that Jesus Christ went through has given me the grace to forgive. All right? Jesus forgave. Forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Yeah.
All right? So Jesus' suffering has given me the best gift in the world, and that is the grace to forgive. I've forgiven every person in my life who's done me egregious, inhumane terrors. And what did that do? It freed me from the earthly bind of their terrible acts. So for that, I am grateful that he was willing to fulfill his destiny. And I believe that this is the way.
Well said, man. I support you.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, the suffering of Jesus Christ. And let's think about all the stuff that we learn. Jesus is way more than mythology. Man's inhumanity to man can be things of horror. Heroes are sometimes villains. You're not given what you want, but what you need. But most importantly, suffering ultimately leads to salvation. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount on your digital business card. Follow us on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Clapper, LinkedIn, OnlyFans. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. Follow Tom at the Tom Flynn. And of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.